What number should I say this episode is now?
3.
Okay, got this. Welcome back to the Chatting Average, episode 1,897,363 and 12. That 12 is after the decimal point. Today, tomorrow, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever you are listening. Thank you for listening to the Chatting Average. I'm John. That's John. And that's Adam. I don't know if that's how it's orientated on John's screen.
I'm on the left, so you pointed.
John.
You pointed on the empty side of the screen, and then you pointed at Adam. Adam's still down.
I'm always on the bottom of this.
Adam's always down. Today we're almost done. This season starts in 2.5 weeks.
I know.
The season starts next week. Actually, the season starts a week from today. In Japan, because
the Japan time next week. Thoughts?
Wait, what?
We should record in Japan time instead of
at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Here. No.
Thoughts?
Sure.
Thoughts?
I'm out on that.
I'll do it. Okay.
Well. Hey.
We will pre-record John. We'll pre-record John. So we'll be telling a joke, and John will just go, "Yeah."
Hey, Joey Bosa to the Buffalo Bills. You heard it here first on the Chatting Average. This is what you're here for. You're here to know where Joey Bosa is going to end up.
Oh.
No, you're not. The Chatting Average, and this episode specifically, has been on a 6-week venture, which we're only in week 5 of the 6 weeks, where we are breaking down every division prior to the season, giving you our predictions for the division 1 through 5. Everything goes based on where they finished last year. So for the American League West, which is this week's episode, we'll start with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim because they are terrible. And somewhere in there, we'll probably talk about the Texas Rangers and their new Tetas hats.
Not anymore. It's not new. They got rid of it. But
they got rid of it. That's been canceled. Also, I just want to interject quickly and say they can be your opinions. There are opinions, but you can steal them. You can have these opinions.
Oh.
We're giving them to you for free. You can take our opinions. I wouldn't recommend that you take John's opinion, but mine and John, they're both pretty good.
Is that John? Is that John?
Yeah.
No, I'm the good John.
That's the bad John. One of us
for
tells
you
only
audio
truths.
listeners,
One of us
both
tells only
pointing at
lies.
the wall.
Yes, you are both pointing at the wall. That is correct. If you have missed any of our first 4 episodes of our divisional previews, that's all right. You can go back and listen to them later on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube. And if you are caught up on your episodes of the Chatting Average, well, you're already listening to this one, so they're good content in the first place. You'll get another one next week. But if you're missing some Chatting Average content in the meantime, check us out on X, the Everything app. We're on X, the Everything app, just like everything else. That's why it's called the Everything app. At the Chatting AVG. Quick plug aside, we shall move now into the American League Western Division, starting worst to first in the division. Last year's worst team in the division were the Los Angeles Angels. Mr. John Lieber, tell me, what's happened with the Angels since the last time we talked?
Yes, since the last time we spoke, the major offseason changes for the Angels include Matt Moore. These are their losses, I apologize. Matt Moore, Hunter Strickland, Brandon Drury, Kevin Pillar, Griffin Canning, Matt Thais. Is that how you say his name? I've been saying his name like that for a couple weeks, I think. Patrick Sandoval and Miguel Sano. And they add half the White Sox roster. No, just kidding. They add Jorge Soler, Kyle Hendricks, Travis d'Arnaud, Kevin Newman, Yusei Kikuchi, Chucky Robinson, Tim Anderson, Yohan Moncada, and Kenley Jansen. They also are adding a new hat where it says Anna Els.
That's true. This is a weird team, and nothing here is a really, like, everything here feels like a lateral move. You can kind of see That front office bringing a lot of Ron Washington's guys in. Travis d'Arnaud is essentially an on-field manager. At this point in his career, he was pretty good, but he's at that point of his career. You're looking at guys like Yusei Kikuchi as a old veteran, likely going to be the opening day starter though, which kind of speaks to the youth of this rotation and the relative inexperience of everyone else on the team. This is kind of a cobbled together team that, if the White Sox weren't out there, might be the most random named team in the league. And half the White Sox are on here. Tim Anderson is a second baseman now, I guess. Yoan Moncada, he'll be there for like 10 days and he'll tear a labrum or something. So
he'll run down to first and his rotator cuff will explode.
This team is made up of about 30,000 people that have shown flashes at one point or another. And nobody's ever, other than Mike Trout, been able to actually put together. Also, Mike Trout has not played baseball in about 3 years. This team, I think, if everybody plays to their ceiling, could be very interesting. The odds that every player on this team plays to their ceiling is exactly 0. I think this team is going to be very irrelevant, as have every Angels teams over the last decade. And I just still really don't think this team has a designated direction. I don't really think the front office knows what they're doing, frankly. There's a lot of baseball teams in really bad spots, and I think the Angels are at the tippy top of that list.
This is an aimless team. That was it.
I think it's funny that, they're running back the same team in the field other than Yoan Moncada and Jorge Soler.
Well,
and I guess Kevin Newman.
Mike Trout moved to right field, so you're going to have Joe Adell and Mickey Moniak splitting time in center instead of Joe Adell playing right field.
Why?
Because Mike Trout's durability concerns, Joe Adell actually had a decent underlying stat season last year, especially towards the back half of the season. So they're sort of buying low on Joe Adell being really good and putting him at a premium position where his athleticism can play. Because otherwise,
do they realize though that Joe Adell can't hit, and now they're going to make him play the premier position in the outfield and figure out how to hit?
Man, he had a sneaky decent second half last year. We're waiting for the year 4 breakout for Joe Adell. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's reason to be optimistic.
And the thing with Joe Adell is now he's playing center field, a position that isn't as much of a slugger forward position as right field, which you're now giving to Mike Trout, who, could still have some magic in the bat and isn't being asked to play an everyday position that is likely one of the most demanding physical positions on the field. Otherwise, you've got guys like Luis Rengifo coming back from injury, had one of the highest batting averages in the league coming up to his injury, which I know isn't exactly the most, star-studded counting stat anymore, but did have a very good season bouncing, is really going to stick at second base likely. You're going to have Zach Neto injured for a bit, so likely Kevin Newman to start opening day. Nolan Schanuel now. You've got Travis d'Arnaud to fill in at catcher while Logan O'Hoppe is not in commission. This is a team that, I think, Adam, you said it perfectly, is possibly fun. Possibly a fun, interesting, weird, one of those almost a so bad they're good, like a really funny 70-win team, like a really funny 65-win team, just because every once in a while someone's going to be hot, maybe. But this team is just, there's too many regression candidates because it's it's a retirement home.
This is the team, and I feel like it's every year the case with the Angels, but this is the team where you'll find in fantasy baseball at the top of the waiver wire some random 6 hitter in their lineup that's just been on fire for the last 2 weeks, and you'll pick him up and he will not hit a baseball for. And every
Luis
2 weeks
Rengifo.
it'll be a different guy that cycles through, but it feels like the Angels are going to be that team this year. Stay away from them in fantasy baseball. Word to the wise.
I have a hypothetical.
Hit me.
Okay.
Mike Trout was drafted with the 25th overall pick in the 2009 MLB draft. How many of the 24 teams prior to, with all of his injuries that he's had since 2010 or whenever he got called up, right? Out of all of those 24 teams ahead of him, ahead of the Angels that year, how many of them regret drafting him?
Regret not drafting him?
Correct.
Ooh.
I would say all but the Nationals. The Nationals took Steven Strasburg first overall in that draft. He was the number one pick going into that draft. He was the number one pick a year before that draft. He was the number one pick 3 years after. Obviously, Trout's had the better career than Strasburg, but you, in that position, understand why they wanted Strasburg, who had a great career in his own right, won them a World Series, won World Series MVP. I think they're happy with that pick. Every other team should have drafted Mike Trout.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to argue about that. I feel like, and Strasburg and Trout have found themselves on similar parallel paths. The injury bug is really biting them. And these are both players that, Strasburg has since retired, but like when they were on in those few years before they really started getting hit with injuries, like Steven Strasburg, that World Series year, one of the most fascinating pitchers to watch.
Totally.
In baseball, in this possibly this past, like the entire 2010s. And Mike Trout, one of the most fascinating hitters to watch in the 2010s. This golden child. And that reputation has carried him a little bit. We talked about this, I feel like not terribly long ago, probably like November or October. Like Mike Trout is someone who is still somehow he's still kind of hanging on to a lot of that golden child like prospect status. It's carried with him for a while. I feel like it's kind of like that guy who shows up at the high school reunion like 10, 15 years later, and like he was like on like a state championship team, and like he wears the letter jacket there, and it's like, well, I mean, you could throw a football better than other people in your age bracket right now, but you're not the same. You're a managing partner at Goldman Sachs. Like we're not talking 4A football right now.
This is quite the analogy.
But it's the thing, is like Mike Trout can still be better than his age bracket peers, because most of them have aged out.
No, those days are definitely behind.
Might not be top 50.
I don't know that I would go that far. And yes, he hasn't played ball in like 3 years, so I understand where you're coming from there. But like, it's Mike Trout we're talking about here. I'd say he's closer to the top 10 than he is to outside.
Where does he rank in all time?
He's a Hall of Fame
question.
Because listen, we don't got to get into that now. We can get into that in a like opening few weeks episode. But like, he was the best to ever do it, and then has had 13 playoff at bats.
Best to ever do it implies he gets to do it.
Yeah, I would.
Best to ever do it implies that he does it in October, and he never has.
I would compare his career trajectory to Ken Griffey Jr.'s. I think that's a very, very similar one-to-one comparison in guys that burst onto the scene, kind of had a lot of expectations heaped up onto him as a result, lived up to those expectations and to a degree exceeded them, and then had injuries derail an otherwise first ballot Hall of Fame career. The difference, obviously, is that Griffey had more success in the postseason. Trout's never won a postseason game. Not entirely his fault, but it still stains his resume a little bit. And I think that as a pure ball player, you have to separate Trout from his team. It's unfortunate that he's been hooked with the Angels as long as he has. He's to stay there seemingly for the rest of his career. I think he probably does get penalized for that, whether it's fair or not, when you're talking about all-time greatest players. But to me, when he was on, he was as good as just about anybody. His peak was there.
We move.
We move forward to a little bit of a less depressing topic, but only slightly. The Sacramento, future Las Vegas Athletics.
Major offseason losses. Alex Wood, Scott Alexander, TJ McFarland, Ross Stripling, Trevor Yacht, Abraham Toro, Sean Newcomb, Austin Adams, the Coliseum, the city of Oakland, their entire fan base, all respect between all other 29 teams, and their major acquisitions in the offseason: Luis Severino, Jeffrey Springs, Jacob Lopez, Gio Urshela, Jose Leclerc, Luis Ariz. I think what's really interesting about this team is that they have to somehow figure out how to act like they're big leaguers while they're going to play in a tiny AAA stadium in Sacramento where nobody wants to watch them play baseball. The only way they're going to sell tickets, and they should get used to this if they're moving to Las Vegas, is because Shohei Ohtani is coming to town, is because Pete Alonso is coming to town, is because Julio Rodriguez is coming to town. It's because Aaron Judge is coming to town. There ain't going to be nobody there that's going to be wearing a damn A's hat. Oh, look at me. I just love the A's, man. Yeah.
It's
Nobody cares about
the image
anymore.
in my head is so incredibly funny. I'm imagining Max Muncy, not to be confused with Max Muncy, like the middle infield athletics prospect.
Yeah.
Who was played in Sutter Health Park before, right?
Correct.
He as a member of the Las Vegas Aviators now? Las Vegas Aviators has played against the Sacramento River Cats before in Sutter Health Park, and he makes it to the big leagues. This is a big break, starting in second base, batting like sixth, right? And he's still at Sutter Health Park.
They're gonna, you know what the best part will be? They'll probably do the darn Adley thing where they had the camera spin around him, and it'll just be Sutter Health Park, and nobody.
It'll be so empty, and you'll see the parking lot, and it'll be like for some reason part of the ballpark that they promised would be renovated is still under construction. So there's a crane hanging out in the distance or something, and
there's a floating scoreboard just like there was at Vandy for football.
I remember seeing a interview clip or I think it was a stream actually. Trevor May, former athletic, former Major League Baseball relief pitcher, talking about
current Fortnite.
Right, I think this was during a Fortnite stream. To be perfectly honest with you, when someone asked him if people are going to go to the athletics games in Sacramento, he said no. And he went on and continued about how everyone's kind of just over it at this point, at least internally. It's at least the players they aren't really mad about it anymore. They're just kind of resigned to it because it's what are we going to do? And he also said that, and this is not to discredit the city of Sacramento and Mickey Doolittle. Well, it's kind of to discredit Mickey Doolittle.
Hang on.
I think he's going to go get Mickey right now.
Hey, just we're shit talking Sacramento in here.
Okay, so not to discredit them, but Trevor May said that Sacramento's media market is objectively just a worse version of the Oakland North Bay media market, and I
think I agree.
So it's a team that is downgraded everywhere. They've got rid of the stomper patch, the elephant on the ball patch, for a Sacramento Bridge patch. And then
why was it different the elephant?
That was a good joke, and neither of you laughed at it. This is bullshit.
The other side where the ad patch
watch your mouth. Language.
I'm going to try this joke again because neither of you laughed, and I'm going to keep saying it until you guys laugh. The Athletics, they really just got rid of the elephant. So
Well,
what I said was,
okay, no, we
because
heard
there
you.
was Stomper patch, they got rid of
Right,
the.
they got rid.
they got rid of the elephant.
All right, so you guys want to move on to the Rangers?
So the thing about this A's team, I think, because we haven't actually talked any ball with them,
True.
is that they're on the precipice of something interesting.
Yeah, being really good in a AAA ballpark.
Correct. Yeah, it sucks that they're putting together. I don't think this is their year. I'll preface it with this. I don't think this is their year, but they're building the pieces for a good roster, and that roster is going to have to play at a AAA ballpark until the ballpark in Vegas that nobody's going to go to. And that sucks, right? Like, you feel for a guy like Lawrence Butler, who just signed a mega extension, had a really, really, really good second half last year. Like, was rubbing noses with perennial all-stars type second half. And he's somebody that I think is going to be phenomenal this year. You still have Brent Rooker there. You still have Zach Geloff, who I think, even though he had a bad last year, is going to mash this year. Like, there are pieces of this roster that are going to be around when the next good A's team comes to play. The issue is, where is that A's team going to play? And are people going to care when they do? And I think the answer to that question is no.
I think this is a just above average team. Like, I think they could get like 85 to 90 wins. Just kind of depends on how they can hold up late season, depending on how many prospects they call up and how many people get injured. But really, I think
hard to get the prospects over.
It's really not. Yeah, no, they don't. They're used to it. So,
shall we move forward?
We move.
Yes.
The team that finished third last year, a surprise third place finish in division for the defending World Series champion, Texas Rangers. What have they done in the offseason? Back to their World Series winning ways.
Correct. They lost Andrew Heaney, Kirby Yates, David Robertson, Carson Kelly, Jose Leclerc, Max Scherzer, Andrew Chafin, Matt Duffy, Jose Urania, Travis Jankowski, Nathaniel Lowe. That one might be Lau. I don't know. Their acquisitions, though, in the offseason: Luis Corvello, Kyle Higashioka, Jake Berger, Jacob Webb, Hobie Milner, Jock Peterson, Chris Martin, Jesse Chavez, Luke John Jackson, and Robert Garcia.
I can't be mad at this lineup. I can't.
No.
I feel like Jake Berger is a consistently average to above average hitter, and is just kind of a guy. He'll be a pretty good replacement for Nathaniel Lowe.
I think it's Lau
at first base. Hobie Milner, Jacob Webb shore up the middle to back end of that bullpen. Kyle Higashioka, the home run stroker. One of the don't stop
that way.
Stop
that way.
I don't. He is a pitcher's catcher. He is a pitcher's catcher.
I'm not sure that a pitcher's catcher is what you need with this sort of rotation, because you have a lot of seniority in a room filled with 35-year-old Nathan Eovaldi, 34-year-old John Gray, 36-year-old Jacob deGrom. This is a team that has a lot of experience. A catcher doesn't need to boost those. Now, there are some young guys that are on the precipice, right? Jack Leiter, who had a kind of a rough major league introduction last year, but I think I'm still very high on his call. Kumar kicking down the doors in AAA. He's had a good spring training. He could make that opening day roster as well, try and claim that last rotation spot. And yeah, it's good to have kind of a veteran catcher, guys like that, but those are dudes who did it at the highest level in college, competed for a College World Series. I'm just not sure that this team needs to be helping their rotation a ton. That being said, at the same time, I kind of think this rotation is the weak point on the team. Is that crazy to say?
No, I kind of agree. Like, when you look at this roster, like you need Jack Leiter to figure out how to throw a fastball that doesn't get hit 700 feet out of the ballpark, which has been his issue. The guy who throws 103 is pretty cool unless he leaves it directly down the middle or can't find the zone. Like, I think Eovaldi probably has a great year. If DeGrom can stay healthy, pause for a fact. If DeGrom can stay healthy, he'll have a good year. It legitimately comes down to like John Gray, Jack Leiter. Tyler Mahle is on their IL right now. Like, that could be important pickup. Actually, I don't know if he'll be back.
He may.
It's a forearm tightness and today, but like, as long as forearm tightness doesn't turn into UCL tear, then he should be okay. But I don't know. I think that this
forearm tightness generally is code for UCL tear, unfortunately.
Shout out Garrett Cole.
Garrett
Goldbeck.
Did you guys look my tweet from the Chatting Average account about Garrett Cole?
Yeah. John blamed me. He thought I tweeted that.
No, dude, that was all me. That was all me.
Here's what I think. I think you guys are hung up on Kyle Higashioka. I don't think he's going to play that many games. I don't think that's going to be a platoon.
True platoon between really good last year.
Him and Jonah Heim. Like, I legitimately, and like, I guess I'm very high on the Rangers, and I was last year as well. But like, I legitimately think like Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford might be the two best players on this team come the end of the year. And like, they have Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. Like,
to me, this lineup screams high floor. And I would have told you the same thing last year. And obviously it didn't end up working out so great last year, but like, Evan Carter now is 2 years established in the league. Wyatt Langford has a full season under his, like, he's not going to struggle as much as he did. He's just not. I've seen him play in college. He is a really talented bat. He's going to figure it out. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
I look around this lineup top to bottom between those guys, between Adolis Garcia, you add Jock Peterson, you still have Jake Berger, you still have Josh Young. Like, this lineup's gonna mash. I think the floor there is very, very high. The question is, how high is the ceiling? That's the biggest question for me. And you look at Marcus Semien, who is, 35 years old, and you look at Corey Seager, who's 31 years old, and at a certain point, are their best days behind them? I would say for Semien, probably yes. For Seager, maybe not necessarily. But if those declines aren't super sharp, you're still going to have a very good line.
John's been showing off his baseball cards. So for you audio listeners, he is just showing us the Paw Patrol Aaron Judge. But he was showing off Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter and Marcus.
I kind of looked over and they were both right on top, so I decided to start showing them.
He also showed Nolan Schanuel, which he could have done when we were talking about the Angels, but chose not to.
It was halfway through the deck there. Sorry. We moved, yeah?
Yeah, if you guys don't have any final thoughts about the Rangers, we can move.
Unfortunately, I think I'll be sharing my Rangers thoughts in the divisional predictions.
So what I was saying was the team that finished second in the division last year, the Seattle Mariners. What have they done this offseason? Justin Turner, I don't think it's very much.
The Seattle Mariners. Off-season losses. Justin Turner, Yimi Garcia, Luis Arias, Josh Rojas, JT Chargois, Sam Haggerty, and Austin Voss. They gained Donovan Solano, Miles Mastrobuoni, Miles who? Rowdy Tellez, and Trevor Gott. Oh, mama, I'm in fear for my life from the long arm of the law. I think that's what they should play anytime they read out who the darn starting pitcher is on this team. Because every single lineup should go, oh, crap. Good thing we got through 3 pitchers. Now we're on to their 4th pitcher. Oh, crap.
Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Brian Wu,
Oh,
Emerson Hancock, Luis Castillo.
oh my God.
That's a good 5. It's not in order, by the way. I mentioned their ace of the staff, like 5th.
Technically,
They have like
technically,
4 aces.
They have 4 aces.
yeah.
Although I think one
genuinely
of them
think they
is
might have 5. Oh, George Kirby is hurt. Yeah, George Kirby will be back.
And I think people were maybe hating a little unnecessarily when Justin Turner said this is the best rotations in baseball history. Obviously, that's weird to say for a Seattle Mariners team that hasn't really achieved anything right now, but like there is a universe. There's a very real universe back on this team 10 years from now and think, oh my God, all of these guys are like future Hall of Famers. And yes, they're all playing in different organizations, having success everywhere. Because you can't keep cores like that together forever. But like there is a universe where we look at this rotation and say, how in the world did the Mariners ever put this together? Like this is like the 90s Braves of this millennium.
John mentioned. My thing is like the rotation is good, and then you look at the roster, the rest of the roster.
They didn't do anything.
No, but I still don't understand why they were so bad last year. Other than because I do know what happened. I do know that they apparently didn't have hitting practice unless it was in a game. Because for about 35% of the at-bats the entire team took last year, they looked like they've never seen live pitching before. Unless it was the White Sox. Then they won.
You look at this staff, and obviously Julio Rodriguez at any moment could be one of the most electric players in baseball. At any moment. But his OPS plus has declined every year he's been in the league. Randy Rosarena is in left field. He's a big boomer bust guy. He has immense power in the bat, but he swings like there's a hole in the center of it. Mitch Garver is now a DH only, which means because Cal Raleigh has been such a force at and behind the plate. Big dumper.
Big dumper.
But really, like the first base is now with Ty France in Minnesota is now Tyler Locklear. Jorge Polanco is slid
it's
to
Luke
third.
Raley. What?
Yeah, Luke Raley.
It's either Raley or Locklear, but Raley has been a career utility.
Bro, they ain't even got Locklear on the 26th man on Fangraphs. What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
He came up when Ty France got waived last year.
Yeah,
so
that's why they signed Donovan
heir.
Solano, so he doesn't have to come up.
Donovan Solano?
He's 37.
And Ryan Bliss is waiting in the wings to take over second base right now because he's been their presumptive middle infielder heir. J.P. Crawford is there. J.P. Crawford is there.
He's there. I'll tell you what.
He's on the wrong side of 30, and his game was never going to age well. I think you saw that start last season, that it started aging very poorly. That could be a tough scene. There's just every talking point I have about this team has already been expressed better than I can express it by Justin Turner, who was on the team last year. Sign a freaking bat, man. You have a transcendent rotation. Go get somebody that can actually play ball and score some dang runs. It's a joke that this team with a rotation this good isn't the runaway favorite for a division this weak. It's a joke.
Agreed.
Speaking of runaway, speaking of runaway favorite, shall we segue to the team that won the AL West last season?
Sure.
The Houston
Okay.
Astros.
I'm going to read a list of
Please.
so many names, and you are going to know every single one of them. Their major offseason losses include Alex Bregman, Kyle Tucker, Justin Verlander, Yusei Kikuchi, Jason Hayward. You've heard of all of these, yeah? Let me keep going. Caleb Ferguson, Hector Neris, Jose Urquidy, Kendall Graveman, Aledmus Diaz, Jose Abreu. Not really an off-season loss, and then Ryan Presley. However, they did add, oh man, this one's a good list. Taylor Trammell, junior, not senior. Isaac Paredes, Hayden Wesneski, Cam Smith, Christian Walker, Juan Bayo, and Brendan Rodgers.
I mean, here's the thing. With the people they've added, you lose a lot of the old guard. Like, a lot of the old guard. Third base is now clear. Cam Smith is kind of pushing his way into that conversation actively. Although I've also heard that he's getting worked out at right field. He has never played right field collegiately or professionally. He has played left field a little bit. So, but he seems like his bat's going to carry him before his defense does. Isaac Paredes will also probably man third base or DH. Christian Walker now sits at first. Hayden Wesneski fills that swing man part of the rotation, although I imagine, much like Ronel Blanco, they might find him a spot in the rotation. And Brendan Rodgers has been a Gold Glove, even Platinum Glove middle infielder at some points, who has been surprisingly effective in spring training. Comes with an asterisk because of spring training, but who could find some time now that this is, your starting second baseman is maybe Mauricio Dubon with Jose Altuve now in left field.
Yeah. I think Brendan Rodgers breaks camp with the major league squad. He came up as a shortstop, obviously played second base his entire time with the Rockies, but he strikes me as the kind of guy that will just find a spot. He just needed to be in a better situation.
I agree. Question.
Mm-hmm.
Did Lance McCullers Jr.'s arm fall off?
It does that every 6 to 8 months.
Because he's been injured since June of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Is he throwing in camp?
2020, before June of 2023, he also had 2 or 3 other major injuries in his career.
Right. And then, of course, they've got, Christian Javier also had Tommy John in June of 2024. Luis Garcia had Tommy John in May of 2023. Capsule tear for JP France. I don't care about that one. But,
one of the things
they've got one good pitcher on this pitching staff.
One of the things that really propelled this Astros team when they were, cheating and competing for World Series was that they had really, really, really strong rotations to fall back on. Look at guys like Justin Verlander. You look at Garrett Cole. You look at Zach Greinke. These are guys that had phenomenal years in an Astros uniform. Every single year they went into the season with a top 5 rotation in baseball. And you look at this rotation right now, and it's just gutted. You have Framber Valdez, who's like a 3.5 ERA, and he's your ace. And your number 2 is Hunter Brown, who was dreadful in the second half. Ronel Blanco, who was a 31-year-old rookie, and had a great story, had a great season last year, but it was just a great story. That's all it was. You don't expect him to be a guy that's in your long plans. He's your number 3 starter. This is a team that I think is trying to hang on to the last tendency that they have. And I don't think they're going to be able to hang on through the entire season. I feel like they're falling off this year.
I think the dynasty is dead. And I don't know if you'd call it a dynasty.
Jim.
The thing for me is I think that the players that could be really good, I really like Spencer Arrighetti. I think he'll be a very effective starting pitcher. I think he'll play better than the typical 5 in a rotation will. I really like Yainer Diaz as this ascendant catcher. They moved him to first base every once in a while because Victor Caratini was there. I don't think they're going to keep kicking. I think, they're really going to commit to him being a catcher or DH on his off days. Maybe Mauricio Dubon plays like a starting second baseman, but I have more faith in Brendan Rodgers. Does Jeremy Pena actually learn how to draw a walk? I don't know. He has 100 OPS. And it's all because he's really good on the base paths, but he can't stop striking out. This is a team of ifs right now, and it's weird to say that about the Astros.
The SEC.
If man,
right.
Justin Herbert, but this is a team that really, you didn't think you would say that 6 years ago. You're looking at it like, okay, this is gonna be the Patriots of the MLB, one of those teams that just can't die. No matter how much they reload, there's going to be 1 or 2 people who are just constantly going to keep this going. And the reality is, 1, in baseball, it doesn't really work like that. And 2, the Astros couldn't keep it together because, Dan and Brown in that front office can't really – it's like they can only do so much about the aging curve, and some of the other people who have spun off of that – haven't seen much success with like the Astros way. I'm looking at you, Mike Elias. Mike. So I feel like this will be a playoff team. This will be a wild card team, and their fans are going to be like, the dynasty was never over. It's a wild card. The Tigers were a playoff team. No one's calling it the Tigers dynasty.
The Tigers are good now.
That's not me saying the Tigers are bad. But you aren't a dynasty because you're doing the same thing the Tigers are doing.
That is true. Yes.
That
is correct.
Right.
Shall we move into the part of the show where we give our predictions?
Yes. Prior to doing that, let me give a disclaimer to all of you listening. Do not use these predictions in any shape or form to believe how your team's going to finish, because we're terrible at this. We have no qualifications.
Speak for yourself, man.
I do it for the love of the game.
John didn't even play baseball.
That's true. Look,
that is true.
I'm not a real physical talent. I'm 5'9".
I disagree. I think you're pretty physical.
The Muggsy Bogues skipped me over. Like the random short
John,
guy with sauce.
Who is your 5th place in the AL West?
It's the Angels.
These predictions is gambling advice. This is a gambling advice. You can use this as gambling advice.
And some people that would take you up on that. The Los Angeles Angels are my 5. It's not that they're not going to be interesting to watch, but this is a team that is a cobblestone team. They're built together of a bunch of little different things that really won't push them very far. I think they will be an improvement over last year, but they aren't must-watch TV without a mainline star, and Mike Trout really isn't that right now. I think this will be a kind of gutsy team, maybe every once in a while for a couple weeks, maybe, but I don't see it.
The Angels are one of those teams that you just very, very obviously see as an 100-loss team. And I think that's going to be the only interesting thing about them this year is can they put it together enough to avoid 100 finishing.
I also have the Angels. John, who's your 4?
Oh, well, okay.
What am I supposed to give? Oh, yeah, they suck. They're going to be terrible. Everybody else in this conference or in this division is good. Kind of.
I'll be honest. This is interesting to me. I have the Rangers at 4. I don't like this pitching staff. I think they didn't make the proper young investment, and I think Kumar Rocker might be effective, but he's going to deal with. I feel like Leiter is going to still deal with his command issues. I don't know if he's really fixed it, but only 2 pitchers does not a staff make. You're really going to be burned with later down the line that the bats are giving you all the run support you need, and you're going to keep sending guys across the plate. So I feel like this is a slightly below 500 team.
If you took the Rangers bats and you mixed it with the Mariners rotation, I think that team wins 100 games. My fourth place team is the Athletics of Sacramento. I like a lot of the pieces that this team has. I just struggle to see them putting it together, especially in a minor league ballpark where we haven't seen most of these guys play before. It's going to be totally new to get acclimated to. You don't really have a home field advantage for the entire season. I just don't think that this is a tight-knit enough group of guys to be able to embrace that the way that I can see the Rays doing that. And I think it's going to be the downfall of this year's A's team.
I'm about to throw a grenade into the entire prediction. The fourth place finishers for the American League West are the Houston Astros.
What are you talking about? All right, continue.
Every team above them will win 84 games or higher.
Take this as gambling.
The Houston Astros. I haven't done this yet where I've made a very bold claim and I need it to pop for the graphic. Not even. No, I legitimately think. Listen, I'll be fully clear here. I'm doing it. I'm putting them fourth and not third for the clicks on social media, but I see them and the Athletics being very close together. Chucking it.
Mr. Sansoni.
Wow, that is such a tough act to follow. I
have the Rangers.
I think the Mariners are 3. I don't like this offense. I don't think they're going to do it. I don't know why they didn't address it either, and I am responding in kind. You've got such a good staff. I feel like it's going to be like a whole staff of Mets Jacob deGroms, where they are really, really good, and the offense does nothing. So I think I think they're third.
Jerry Dipoto. Talking to you, Jerry Dipoto. Talking to you.
Jerry.
All right, trade boy. Make some trades. Nolan Arenado's out there. Go get him. You need bats. The team that I have finishing third is the team that Lieber has finishing fourth. The Houston Astros, their window's closed. I don't think that this Astros team is very...
I'm so sorry.
I don't think they're very good. I think their rotation is borderline bad. Their lineup is not enough to move me. I think they finished third. I think they are out of a wild card spot. I don't see them as a playoff team this year.
I, in third place, have the Athletics. I think they're going to be ahead of schedule because I think, like, theoretically, looking at like what their track is, like they shouldn't be third and win 85 games. But I have them there. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the young guys do, obviously, and how keep improving. I would love to say that they're a playoff team just because, like, I'd love to see what playoff games at Sutter Health Field look like. Right now, yeah, they are an 85 win last wild card in team.
I love it.
And the Astros miss out by 4 games.
The Astros are my 2, which means I have the Rangers winning. Not the Rangers.
No, it doesn't.
Yep.
Means you have the A's winning.
I have the A's winning.
Wait, Is this right? Did you do this on purpose?
I didn't say this was being a good division.
That's
Take
Is
this
that
as gambling
great? Wait,
advice.
is that
Take this as
important
gambling
for your
advice.
name
Take
in
this as
history?
gambling advice. Take this as gambling advice. Take this as gambling advice.
That might have been more of a grenade than what
your
people.
walls. I'm behind your eyes. I'm behind your eyes. Joe, I'm behind your eyes. Joe, I'm behind your eyes. Cut me out.
We are all going to go very different directions, I think, with our division winner. My second place.
I
have
love
my-
this.
I don't have enough. I said all my pieces about the Astros.
My second place team is the Texas Rangers. I agree with Mr. Sansoni insofar as they're strong enough to put them over the top and to push them to win this division. I think it is strong enough for them to grab a wild card spot. I think the Bats can come to play in October, and I think they could be dangerous down the stretch. I just don't see them winning the division this year. Also, I agree with Mr. Sansoni insofar as this is a very, very weak division, and it could go a lot of ways.
Expand on your first place team, the Mariners.
The Seattle Mariners have the best rotation in baseball. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong for their bats last year. I don't think every single player regresses like that normally. Like, I think that was just a flash in the pan, extremely bad luck season for Seattle. I could be totally wrong. They could continue to hit, 3 hits a game for the entire season again, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that, Julio Rodriguez and Randy Arozarena now have half a season underneath each of their belts playing together. The chemistry is going to be there. They're going to start working a little bit better. I can't say that I like anybody that they've added in the offseason because, frankly, they haven't added in the season. But if Jerry Dipoto works his phone line magic, makes some trades happen at the trade deadline, this lineup, I think, is going to be just good enough to get them over the top in this division.
Which he will. He will work. Like, he will make trades at the deadline. Like, it's the Mariners.
That's what he does. He does.
Yeah. I agree a lot with what you just said about the Mariners. I think that their rotation is the best in baseball. I think it's going to give them a lot of wins this season. I just don't think it's going to give them enough to win the division over the Rangers.
Well, would they be better if they had Robbie Ray?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, because if Kirby comes back and is okay, then you're fine. I'm cool. Robbie Ray is slumming it in San Francisco, being a terrible team. But Jung Hoo Lee's on the team. But I think that, like, the Rangers, like I said, I'm very high on them. I think you're going to see some really good breakout years from their in air quotes rookies, guys who played just last season, and Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford. I think they're going to be very fun. I think this may be like a passing the torch kind of season for them between Corey Seager and Simeon. Both still very good baseball players, but, like, hey, it's time. Give it to those guys. We'll be here. We'll provide you with 140 games a year, but we're not going to be the guy they're relying on in the bottom of the ninth most of the time now. And I think I've really loved this lineup for a while. I'm hugely high on Jonah Heim. I agree that the pitching staff does give a little to beg, like, you're not really writing home about anybody. You got to pray. You got to pray DeGrom stays healthy. And you have to make a move at the deadline because you're going to need a starting pitcher. Well, that's it.
The first division where all three of us have had different divisional winners.
Let me check for you.
I believe that that's the case.
It annoys me that I can't shake the feeling that John Fisher is going to be vindicated and there's going to be playoff games at Sutter Health Park.
It is.
Like, I
really sucks.
I really don't like that. But I'm buying high on the prospects in this athletic system because I feel like it's a really exciting, I feel like they can put it together.
I agree with you. That is actually the only division where other than the 5th place, 1 through 4 for all of us does not match with anybody.
That's very impressive, actually.
So, like, because, like, we all have the Angels, but then I have the Astros at 4. Adam, you have them at 3. John has them at 2. I have the A's at 3. Adam, you have them at 4. John has them at 1. I have the Mariners at 2. You have them at 1. John has them at 3. Rangers 1, 2, and 4. So, I believe it's time for Immaculate Grid. What do we?
What is the Immaculate Grid?
The Immaculate Grid is a 3x3 grid with 9 intersections. There's like it looks like that. So what we have today is in row 1, the LA Dodgers, row 2, the Cubs, and row 3, the St. Louis Cardinals. Column 1, the Phillies. Column 2, 100 plus RBI batting season, and column 3 played a minimum of 1 game at catcher.
Catcher. Ooh.
Does anybody have anything?
For catcher for the Cubs, they acquired Luis Torrens pretty late in 2023.
Okay. You want me to put him in?
Yes.
That is 0.08%.
I have a catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, if that so interests you.
Sure.
And then he is Mr. Carson Kelly.
That is 0.9%.
We'll round out the catchers. The catcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers, friend of the Colorado Rockies and current coach in the system, Tony Wolters.
Tony Wolters
0.06.
Approval.
0.06.
Cool. Cubs, Phillies. Cubs,
Phillies, we got like Cole Hamels,
Hector Neris,
Schwarber, obviously, Nick Castellanos, technically,
Mark Leiter Jr.
Mark Leiter. Yeah. Is that who we want to use?
Sure. Mark Leiter Jr.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I feel pretty sure about it.
All right, Cubs, Phillies.
Yeah.
Mark Leiter Jr. 0.2. Good. Good job, John.
Phillies Cardinals. Friend of the program, Corey Dickerson. Hashtag Dickmania.
0.5%.
Hashtag what?
Dickmania.
All right.
Shout out Dick Mania.
All right. Dodgers, Phillies. Luke Williams, noted Brave.
I disagree. All right, 0.09%. We're on a run here. Now we need 100 RBI batting season from all of these teams.
100 Ribby Cub.
Correct.
I can't. I mean, someone had to do it out of that core of Baez, Bryant, Rizzo.
Well, right. I'd really prefer not to use them, though.
Right, but like we don't want to use that.
Addison.
Did Derek Lee ever have 100 for them in like the early 2000s?
That is possible. That's a good point.
I feel like he must have. He must have.
Right? Okay. Do you want me to put him in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Derek Lee. Oh my God. What did I just do? I put the wrong Derek Lee in. My bad. Let me do this again. Give me other ones, or think of other ones for the other guys.
I have one for you.
For which one?
Okay, well, give me a second.
100 RBI for the Cardinals.
Okay, go.
Matthew Holiday.
How is Matthew spelled?
It's just
It's just
Matt.
Matt, yeah.
All right. And then
100%.
Dodgers 100 RBIs.
Correct, that's what we need.
Andre Ethier or Ethier. I never actually figured out how to say his last name.
Ethier?
Ethier.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. All right, let me put in Ethier.
Because he was like that 09 team.
Correct. He's a 2%. All right, let me finish putting the rest of these guys in so that we can finish this up. Any chance either of you were also filling this out?
No.
I'm going to assume no. Carson Kelly and Corey Dickerson. Got it. Wait, where are they? Carson Kelly, Corey Dickerson.
Dickerson's bottom left, Kelly's bottom right.
Yeah. Okay, and then it's Derek with 2 R's.
Not to be confused with Derek with not 2 R's.
Correct. 14. The
Good work.
Oh my gosh. The hardest spot on the grid today was Phillies Cardinals at 60%. So somewhat easy of a grid today. We did not use a number one answer, however. That includes Trey Turner, Shohei Ohtani, Will Smith, Kyle Schwarber, Sammy Sosa, David Ross, Scott Rowland, Albert Pujols, and Yadier Molina.
All of those make sense. All of those make sense.
I'd have to agree.
I would agree.
However, that'll be it for the chatting average today. Next week at about the same time as whenever this one comes out will be the final preview, and also we'll be recording on the day of the first game of the Major League Baseball season.
During the first game.
No. Which is going to be weird because then they go back
and play more spring training games after, which is
and then they come back.
Yeah.
Which is weird because they're also allowed a 30-man roster to travel to Japan with and not a 26-man. Either way, we're going to be back on next week with the National League West, which is a straightforward division because the Dodgers are going to win it. And we'll have that. If you're listening on YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe and maybe hit that notification bell. That would be pretty cool. If you're listening on Spotify, rate the podcast, download the podcast. I don't know what you do there. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts,
give it 5.
I don't know.
Amazons.
Give us 5 stars, I guess. We're pretty cool. We said bad words in this one. That was cool. You should give us 5 stars.
We should do that more.
Yeah.
If you're listening on podcast in a phone booth, don't forget to press 9 at the end of the phone call and then insert 25 cents.
Correct. Yeah. And if you're listening to this podcast while traveling through space at the speed of light in the year 3709, make sure you remember that these are not the predictions for 3710. They are the predictions for 2025, and I'd be willing to bet the Astros don't exist in 3710. I think they die with Jose Altuve.
If you are listening to this at the self-checkout of your local grocer, insert cash or select payment type. Use PinPad to complete transaction.
Don't forget your receipt. If you're listening to this while in the car, crash it. No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Whoa.
Don't do that. If you're not listening to this in the car, why aren't you in your car?
If you're not listening to this in your car, don't get in your car and crash it.
Don't crash your car. Even if you're not in your car, don't crash it.
Honk your horn right now. Just honk it.
Yeah. Let the intrusive thoughts win. Swerve to the left a little.
If you're listening to this from the interior of someone's knee, crash into the meniscus.
Hey. Uncalled for.
Hey, if you're listening to this while in prison, I'm about to scream really loudly, so turn the audio down because like the guards might catch you with illegal paraphernalia. I'm not going to scream. I'm joking. If you're listening to this while you're supposed to be doing homework, grades aren't real. You don't need college.
No. This is a podcast with someone who's already graduated college, is about to graduate college, and who has over 2 years left in college.
John, you don't need college.
Grades aren't real. Nobody has ever asked for a diploma. Don't go to college. It's fake. Just lie.
He doesn't even have his diploma yet.
Mom, I'm not dropping out. I'm not dropping out. But if you think I'm dropping out, put it in the comments. Hashtag drop out of college, John. If you don't think I should drop out, do hashtag stay in school, John, and we will tally the winners.
I will create 9,000 accounts.
I'm gonna make
I never said I'd do anything with the tally. I just said I was going to count.
I don't care. We are definitely buying interactions on the Chatting Average, which you can find on the Chatting AVG.
Yeah.
The Chatting AVG?
Yeah.
The Chatting AVG on X, the Everything app. We're definitely buying bots. Elon, don't take them away, please. Elon, they have no government funding, please. If you're listening to this and you're Elon Musk, stop it. Stop listening. I don't want you.
We don't.
Go away. With that being said, thank you for listening. Goodbye.